Hello YouTube. We're getting close to the end because today it's time for pockets. I was surprised to learn that these are the original pockets that were fitted with the table. I thought maybe these were replacements, but no, if you look at the illustrations, this is what was fitted. And they're quite clever. You can buy replacement brass pocket plates for small tables, but today all you get is a flat piece of brass like that. There's nothing to it. So you have to thread the net onto it and then wrap a piece of leather or fake leather over the top and saddle stitch it through so the balls don't hit the brass, which is basically how full-size pockets are made, but on a small scale and with the cheap materials that you get for kids' tables, they look awful. They just look terrible. You can't put them on a piece of fine furniture like this, so I need to fix these and make them look good as new. What's clever about them is that the net is threaded onto a piece of wire which passes through a little eye in the middle, and then the wire is concealed under the tabs at the end. So you can't see the net from the back. It just appears to hang perfectly from underneath, which is rather nice. And instead of wrapping it in a piece of leather, you just have this small piece that is trapped in a channel cast into the brass and just pinched at each end. But these are 100 years old, give or take, and the leather is knackered, and obviously the net is knackered. For all I know, that's the original net as well. So, how do you fix this? Well, I had a go using a piece of ordinary leather that came off a sofa. People around here throw out leather sofas surprisingly often, and I always go and collect one of the cushions. I've given it a polish with some wire wool, and it kind of works, but it's sort of wrinkly, and even if you pinch the ends, the middle bit keeps wanting to come out. And that's because this is modern leather. It's chrome tanned, which means it always wants to be flat. It doesn't really want to form into a curve unless you physically hold it. And I don't want to try and squeeze the brass around with pliers all the way because it might crack or something. So the secret is to use veg tanned leather, which is this stuff, traditional leather. And this stuff will hold a shape. This is wonderful material. I've never used it before, but it's brilliant. I need to find more projects to use this for. Starts off flat, you make it wet, you form it into the shape you want, and then it goes hard again. And that will fit very neatly, I'll have to turn it over, in that slot, and once it's pinched down at each end, the middle bit's never going to come out. And it will look good as new. I haven't trimmed this down yet, but I'll show you how I did it. It's really easy. I've cut this one to size now, so I know how long I want them to be. A bit longer than they were originally. I like them this way. I can always make them smaller. And I've cut myself some more pieces of the same size. So I'm just going to soak them in water for about 5 minutes. Can you hear them hissing? They're probably ready now. Nice and soft. This is 2mm thick. I think the original was actually a bit thinner and they folded it over when they put it into the slot, but 2mm seems to work for me. I bought these as scraps on eBay. So I'm just going to bend over one of the edges. It's a bit like clay. And it's going to force it into the channel. Needs a bit of encouragement. Make sure it's fully in there. And there we go. And just leave that to dry now. I might put an elastic band around there just to encourage that to keep a curve. It's the following day and these are well and truly dry. As you can see, they're nicely holding their shape. However, re-pinching the ends is tricky because my pliers won't really fit over them. But I've come up with a solution. I'm going to use my vise. Bit of fabric to protect the polished brass. This is rather difficult to show, but that will go in there. And I'm going to use a wedge. This is a screwdriver that came out of a Christmas cracker, just so it will press on the correct part of that tab. I'm going to jam that screwdriver in there and then wind up the vise so it presses on that. Squeeze. That should do it. And that's now squeezed in there. And the polished side is unmarked. I bought these cheap pocket bags on eBay. They're not terrible. I'll keep my eyes peeled for anything that looks a bit more antique-y, but I don't hate them, so I'll live with them. They've got a high side and a low side to staple underneath the table. So let's thread the wire onto the first three. And it goes in there. sure I get this the right way round now. That goes around there. So I can thread the last 2 loops on. And there we go. Good as new.